What is going on, YouTube? My name is Andrew Miller, back with the second video this week for the Longhorns football show. Also the site editor at hook'emheadlines.com. I wanted to start giving some reactions after the actual games taking place, not just one show a week, and got a lot of thoughts to get out following the Longhorns 37-34 overtime loss to Texas Tech in the Big 12 opener. Texas gets their second loss of the season, and their first against Texas Tech since 2017. Their first against Texas Tech in Lubbock since, I believe, 2008. So, I mean, disappointing game, obviously, for the Longhorns. You get a good start, at least good start heading into the locker room at halftime. I mean, this felt like a lot of the games that Texas played last season, if I'm just kind of removing any of the emotion from this, and just, like, any of the injuries or anything like that. I mean, we've seen this before where Sarkisian's teams get ahead, relying on Bijan Robinson, relying on Xavier Worthy, who came up with a limp and really didn't play much in the second half. We'll talk a little bit more about that here later. But, it looked like Texas was controlling the game. The defense was playing better toward halftime, and it looked like Texas had the momentum heading into the third quarter. They were in a pretty good spot, double-digit lead heading into the locker room at halftime, but we have another situation where Texas just can't move the ball on offense in the second half. And to be frank, I don't know how much of the blame you can really put on Hudson Card in this game. I really didn't think he played terrible. Threw for a career high. It was like 301 yards, 2 scores, led that kind of key drive there at the end of the second half to get Texas tied up 34-34, dying seconds, and send the game into overtime. He had the pick. He had some late throws, late reads, things like that. It's clear that Texas will love to get Quinn Ewers back. Looks like it'll probably be happening next weekend, if not then for Red River. And hopefully Xavier Worthy is back soon too. But the defense was an issue, just not getting it done on third and fourth down when needed. There was one big goal line stop, but that didn't really amount to anything because Texas couldn't do anything with it. And the big stat is going to be Texas Tech 6 of 8 on fourth down conversions. That's just not something you can let happen. I mean, the pass rush was, I know Donovan Smith is a pretty elusive quarterback, but the pass rush kind of completely went away. You were getting more pressure up the middle at times than you were from, Ovie Gofu and then Barron Sorrell. And those guys just weren't getting it done as they needed to. DeMarvion Overshown getting a little bit of pressure, but, the fact of the matter is you're not getting enough pressure to kind of wreak havoc on Donovan Smith. He's not the most effective quarterback under pressure, to say the very least, but considering this is a guy that threw 5 interceptions in the previous 2 games, and then he has a career high in passing attempts, more than 50 in this one against Texas, and you don't really get a whole lot of havoc in the backfield. You're not really doing much to cause any confusion or change anything up in the secondary. The Texas secondary was an issue at times in this game for sure. There was just a lot of open space for Tech. And props to Donovan Smith. He definitely played a good game. His best game of the season, if not his career. I said before the game this week that if Texas Tech is they're just able to manage turnovers, then it's going to make it hard on Texas. Texas Tech just kept beating themselves in ways against NC State last weekend. I think Texas Tech was -2 per game on the turnover margin. So, they don't turn. I don't believe they had any turnovers in this game. Let me make sure of that. But I don't think Texas ended up winning the turnover battle in this one, which they've been doing pretty good in that department this season. Yeah, Texas had 2 turnovers to Texas Tech 0. So a few of my other thoughts in this game, and then I'll kind of just go line by line of where Texas goes from here. Thoughts on Steve Sarkisian heading into what will be a busy, difficult October slate. First and foremost, this loss gives thoughts of what happened against Baylor, what happened against Oklahoma State, at least what happened against OU. I mean, just the fact of the matter is that Texas has, like, they were injured this week, but, like, you've had an offseason to learn. In general, like, the offensive line's been playing better. I mean, Hudson Card's been playing better this season than he was last. There are reasons to believe that this shouldn't happen anymore. And, like, you got to have some questions of Steve Sarkisian's ability to make in-game adjustments, and especially for Pete Kwiatkowski, the defense just couldn't get off the field in the second half. Tech ends up running close to 100 plays in this game, probably if you include overtime. Yeah, so it's that's an issue, is the in-game adjustments there for sure. Texas didn't find a way to disguise pressures. They didn't find a way to cause any havoc in the backfield. There was a lot of open space, especially on some of the intermediate throws between the numbers. Texas defenders, kind of like last season at times, maybe not necessarily looking lost out there. I mean, sometimes, yes, but just not covering ground as well as they did, not getting as much pressure on the quarterback as they did in the first 3 games of the season. I was a little confused when they were bringing 3 or 4 guys for a lot of the game, and seems like when they were running some delayed blitzes or, getting 4 or 5 strong pushes to the quarterback, kind of collapsing the pocket. Donovan Smith was making some plays, but when he was under duress, that's when Texas was having the most success. My next thought, just more toward the offense, is, like, yes, again, you need Quinn Ewers back, you need Xavier Worthy back, but I mean, he had a big touchdown catch in this game. But other than that, I don't know what you can say about it. You didn't really have any Texas receivers making a huge impact on this game. Rashawn Johnson at times. I think, like I said, I think Hudson Card played pretty well. You had Tarek Milton with that big catch late, and then you had Ajay Hall getting more snaps. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't really blown away by anyone other than Bijan Robinson at times in the first 3 quarters of the game. But then again, you get Bijan Robinson having that uncharacteristic, untimely fumble on the first possession of overtime, or the first. Not just the first possession, but the first play of overtime for Texas. You got to hope that, next week against West Virginia, that there's maybe a little bit more motion in the offense, that there's a little bit more creativity, there's a little bit more balanced play calling. A lot of this game was just outside zone, some delayed handoffs, things like that. The offense got pretty predictable and ended up putting themselves in some tough situations, a lot of 3rd and longs in this game. And just in general, in the second half, didn't look very good. But again, you have to go back to talking about the defense and some of the problems they had getting off the field. Time of possession was almost like 40-20 in this game. It was like 38-22 or something like that. Just not a formula for winning games on the road. I'll talk about just kind of some of the next steps, my thoughts for where Texas goes from here. And I mentioned for West Virginia, like, next weekend's obviously a big game. You have to get some momentum back before you face OU. Texas played OU for 3 quarters last year. Get Quinn Ewers healthy and get this offense back in rhythm. And defensively, you're going to be put to the test next weekend against West Virginia. JT Daniels and that offense looked pretty good against Virginia Tech. I believe that was Thursday. You're going to be put to the test. The secondary for, just really at all levels of the defense for Texas, especially in the second half, struggled. West Virginia's got some good wide receivers. Bryce Ford-Wheaton going to put Deshaun Jameson to the test in this one. I'm going to have to take a deeper look. These are some of the immediate reactions kind of off the dome. I have to watch some of the film again. But, I mean, I wasn't super impressed by the Texas safeties in this game. Anthony Cook made some decent plays, but again, not really anyone making an impact there. In the second half, there was a really costly penalty on Jaron Thompson that got Texas Tech a 3rd down, or like a 3rd or 4th down conversion in the 4th quarter that was key. And then you gave up 331 passing yards and really didn't wreak any havoc on a passing game that, let's see here, in the last 2 games, about 220 passing yards against NC State. And then against Houston probably was, 351, but then he had 3 picks that Donovan Smith threw against Houston. And so just in general, there's a lot of the little things that Texas didn't do well. A lot of big things too, and that's, especially with the way they played in the second half, that you kind of have to consider that they deserve to lose the game. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things you need to see from the offense against West Virginia to feel more confident about where Texas goes from here. But yeah, defensively is where they're really going to be put to the test next weekend, and really for the next few games, because you have a decent Iowa State team coming up in 3 weeks. You obviously have OU in Red River on October 8th. You have West Virginia team that's actually looking pretty good the last couple of games, well, at least in the last game. I don't see how the loss to Kansas settles in, but so I think it's going to be a tougher game than anticipated. But if you can head into Red River 3-2, 1-1 Big 12 play, and then give yourself a chance there, that's not disastrous. But the fact of the matter is that Texas's goal this season is a Big 12 championship game appearance at least, and you're already putting yourself behind the 8 ball on this one by falling short to Texas Tech. Tech on the road is never going to be an easy game, but this will very winnable game for Texas, and this is the type of thing you have to secure, obviously, if you're going to be making it to the Big 12 championship game. So, and you had some other teams around the Big 12 looking good today. Baylor looked pretty good on the road against Iowa State. We'll see how OU looks tonight. TCU looked pretty good against SMU in Dallas today. So, not a whole lot of encouraging signs, obviously, from this weekend, to say the very least. And, the hope is that this is just, injuries kind of wreaking havoc, a tough spot on the road against what looks to be an improved Texas Tech team. And that this is just, a blip on the radar, and that this team really is headed in the right direction. But obviously this was a step back here this weekend. So those are some of my initial thoughts, a little bit of scatterbrain stuff there, because there's just so much to say about this game. I'll get back to watching some of the film. We'll join you here with Tarek and Shane later next week to talk about some more thoughts from this loss to Tech, and then kind of projecting giving our thoughts on the game next weekend against West Virginia. At least Texas, you get a chance to get back home, regroup, get a little bit healthier. Again, hopefully Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy are back for that one. Maybe the shoulder injury still bothering Bijan a little bit. Maybe you get him a chance to rest up a little bit, but really just build confidence and momentum. Get offensive and defensive sides of the ball more cohesively productive. Both of them had their struggles today. So anyway, that's pretty much it. We'll be back here in the next few days.